Krishna Cart is a literacy coach, instructional designer, and doctoral candidate in curriculum and instruction at the George Washington University. A national board-certified teacher in literacy, she brings over 2 decades of experience as a teacher, school leader, and instructional coach across the Philippines and the United States. She developed the Design Coaching Model, a relational framework that positions teachers as designers of learning and makes instructional thinking visible. Krishna will share her work at AERA coming up in Los Angeles. Check out AERA's online program to see all the details on her session and our Research in Reading and Literacy SIGs, presentations, posters, and roundtables. Hi, Krishna. Good morning. It's great to see you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. We're here to talk about the design coaching model, which is the subject of your PhD dissertation, right?
Yes.
So what I'd like to ask you to start, please, is can you just tell us a bit about the design coaching model, what it is and its inspiration?
Yeah, so I've been a literacy coach and instructional coach for decades, and I've served in public school system. And yeah, what I found out in both practice and in literature recently is that instructional coaching itself is very effective. According to the literature, Kraft and others, it's one of the best meta-analysis out there. And but the problem is it's used. I looked at the different models of coaching, and it's used differently here in the U.S. Sometimes it's used as a top-down. So the inspiration of the design coaching model, it's basically the teacher as a focus, and teachers as designers. So I wanted to inculcate the basically equip and let the teachers know how they are, just the value of the teachers, the teacher agency. I call it in my dissertation as professional positioning. So that's the one that I wanted to zoom in that instructional coaching. And it's more on relational, iterative and trust-based. So the presence and relationships needs to be there for it to flourish. Yeah, and it's based on a tripartite theoretical framework. So I'm combining NOWs like andragogy plus neuroscience of coaching, which is cognitive, the biological aspect, and Bandura, the social cognitive. So all of those come together, and that forms the theoretical tripartite of the model. Yeah. But in my dissertation, actually, I will focus more on, I noticed in the literature, they focus less on the reflective depth of coaching. And it's just reflection and teacher agency is an outcome of coaching, but then they focus less on how this reflective practice and teacher professional positioning or teacher agency comes into play. So that interaction, that's the one that I wanted to zoom in my dissertation. Yeah.
So interesting. So very interesting. Wow. And in what I read that you're contributing to our SIG's newsletter for our current issue, you mentioned that there's a strong focus on learning in the design coaching model. And I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit about why that's important and maybe how that differs from other models of coaching.
Yeah, so the design, the first D is discover needs, and it's basically discovering the needs of the teacher. Okay, and it's like away from other context, and then it starts from the teacher's needs, and that's where andragogy comes in. And then the next one, letter E, is empathize with context. So you will see it's from the teacher's perspective. You will, the coach and the teacher. Well, the coach as a postures coach got to empathize with the context through the environment of the teachers, face, space, and place. And then you got to set goals, whatever the goals of the teacher, apart from everything. And then implement, I iterate. So it's basically the teacher's learning. What does she need? What does she need help with? And gather evidence and then navigate next steps. So it will start from whatever the teacher wants to investigate or wants to explore in instructional design, and then let it flourish. It's basically that dialogic. It's kind of like, the same thing that we do in read aloud, where you somewhat move the students learning through dialogues.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so that's the one that I'm trying to, that's basically my instrument, how to move the teacher from, the level of reflective practice, because that reflective practice, that's the one that makes it, that helps her position herself apart from this top down constraints, instructional
Mm-hmm.
constraints.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
interesting. So do you consider it more of a bottom-up approach?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. That's the one, because we just read Hargraves and Fulan in our RPT, which is Research Professional Team. It's professional learning team. I mean, professional learning team. So yeah, and then we're doing, this is part of one of my investment, well, one of my contributions in professional capital. Teachers are researchers, teachers are designers, and I just wanted to inculcate it. So more on their ability to create and design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and really connecting research with practice, thinking about conceptualizing teaching as a design-based research, basically. I
Yes.
love that idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm wondering if you could share with our audience any like anecdotes or examples that you have of applying this in practice, or any pieces of this that you've seen in practice and how it's gone working with teachers.
Yeah. So like, for example, how teachers love, some graphic designers,
Mm-hmm.
graphic organizers, so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, when I do planning with the teachers, something like this, seeking wisdom, what's going well, what feels challenging, all of those in literacy coaching, sometimes those hallway, we call it hallway discussion, or
Yeah.
sometimes just launch one question, but it will trigger questions. So like, for example, seeking wisdom, or the teaching snapshot, what's going well, what feels
Mm-hmm.
challenging. So, and then you have like within the influence and outside of the control. So, something that's just to organize their thinking and then deepen their thoughts, because in the teaching world, teachers don't even have time to think through, and sometimes they're very constrained with testing, and then the pacing of the materials, that type of deal.
Right.
But then I just want to help them like navigate, or these conversations will help them navigate through those constraints, but still position themselves that something that they can control. There are some
Mm-hmm.
things that they can control, and then there are ways to navigate. So it's just to empower them. And then for gathering evidence, it's basically drawing their attention to the artifacts of like evidence of learning from the student, and then patterns that they notice, what this might suggest. So all of those questions, there's no magic. It's just more on like deliberate questioning. What evidence expand, where is this evidence expanding or challenging my professional judgment without, so they will, of course, some of those pacing guides and curriculum mandates will come into play, but then you can still insert those thinking skills.
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, you can still
Yeah.
insert best practices. Yeah.
Right. So I have a question for you that we didn't discuss earlier, but I'm just wondering if you could share your expertise on this. So when you're in the coaching setting and let's say you observe some activities in the classroom, you observe the teacher teaching, and you recognize an area that you think would be helpful or beneficial for the teacher to focus or do some learning in. But when you chat with the teacher, you find that the needs that they're talking about are not the same needs that you noticed, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, what do you have strategies for that sort of situation when maybe your observations and then what the teacher's identifying as their needs, those things may not align fully? What kind of strategies do you use in that case?
Oh yeah, that's very crucial, and I have in the past I have already encountered those. In the past, what I did was so sometimes I bring teachers to that classroom,
Mm,
and then if you bring some others to that classroom as a model, I do meta coaching. So you just do like create a T chart, and then you you say here what the teacher says and then what the other says, and then we discuss it like during the PLC, and then what they noticed, because sometimes it's helpful to hear it from others rather than just your own. And yeah, and then sometimes when you gather that piece of evidence, and then what other things you notice here. So other than that, if you view it from that perspective, oh, that's very beneficial. That is true. How about if you view it from this perspective, or so yeah, like yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I think whatever we can do to make our classrooms more collaborative and to build that trusting relationship so we can let other people be in our classroom and feel comfortable and feel safe and know that we're all here for the same goal, which is learning. I think that those are really exciting avenues for us. Because so often we're in our classroom, our doors are closed, and we don't have opportunities to have that kind of sharing, right? We're very isolated sometimes.
Right. And then in the past, when I bring teachers to other classrooms just to watch, they feel, sometimes you just notice like one thing that one other teacher does. And then if it's, if he hears, or that teacher hears validation from others, that's very, that's very empowering for the teacher.
Yes.
And then that will help them move, because these teachers, sometimes they're dealing with multi-language learners, and then sometimes you cannot get it from the book. Those strategies, you cannot get it from the book. All you do sometimes is just, what others do, or just experiment.
Yeah. Yep.
Just experiment.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, and I've been reading recently about cognitive load theory, some of John Sweller's work, and the idea that, I mean, the easiest way for us to learn is by watching others and listening to others and sharing with each other, right? So if we think about building more of those opportunities for our teachers, then we're likely to see a lot of really important benefits coming out of that, right?
Right. And then just zooming in, like, less is more.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Yeah.
When you
Focusing on really what matters, right? What is the most salient thing that we can do, the most high leverage practice? And sometimes it's something simple, right?
Yes. Sometimes you
Right.
just have to strip off everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to
Exactly.
basics. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And what really matters, which is I think building that classroom trust and that dialogue, the discourse, and making it a safe place for learning and for mistakes. And that, I think that applies to teachers and students.
Right. And these days, especially here in the US, instructional coaching is used as a top-down. So they keep on saying it is, it's just different. It's top-down. It's like, can you work with this teacher, that type of deal. So yeah, but it's not. Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily position teachers as agents, as professionals, right? Who are able to, recognize their own the challenges in their classroom and work towards, I guess, solving some problems in their classroom as professionals, right?
Yes, and then you meet them where they are, so one goal at a time, and as they feel successful, then I think that's crucial. Get to inspire them. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Krishna, thank you so much for sharing about your design coaching model and your research in this area. And I look forward to seeing you at AERA and coming to your roundtable.
Thank you so much. I'll see you there.